You're listening to Supervision with a Vision, where we discuss all things supervision. I'm your host, Sarah, professional counselor, marriage and family therapist, play therapist, eating disorder specialist, and cookie lover, with my co-host, Heather, marriage and family therapist, certified Together in Texas counselor, a Texas transplant from California, and outdoor adventurer. Hi, welcome to Supervision with a Vision. Today, Heather and I are talking about our neighbors or friends or supervisees or supervisors that have a mental health diagnosis. This week we read Our Neighbors with Mental Health Conditions Welcome, and published in Psychology Today 2024. Heather, I think this is we already started kind of thinking about this and talking about it. It's a good topic. That if someone with a mental health diagnosis is in supervision with us, that there might be some fear involved.
Sure. I think from the supervisee standpoint, they could be fearful that they wouldn't want to tell us, like, would we treat them differently?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think in the other side, how much would you share as a supervisor if you had your own mental health piece going on?
Uh-huh. Have you ever had a supervisee share with you that they have a diagnosis?
I've had a supervisee share, yes, I mean, not directly like that, share that they were taking medication. And the medication was pretty straightforward that
right.
was,
Right. If someone said, like, I'm taking Lexapro or
Right.
I'm taking Wellbutrin or
Right.
something, that you would go like, well,
right.
There's a couple options for why, but I probably could guess. Huh. And how did that go? Was it hard for them? Did it take a while?
I don't think it was necessarily like a secret that was being revealed. It was literally in just conversation about whether, actually it was talking about whether she would share that or not, because she had experienced this medication. Whether she would share it with a client.
Okay.
Like,
I mean, I feel like that reflects that your supervisee was pretty self-aware and comfortable with themselves already.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They must have warmed up or done their own work before.
Yes,
being
they definitely
ready.
had done their own work, for sure.
What about, have you ever had a reason, maybe not just a mental health diagnosis, but any type of diagnosis? Have you ever disclosed that to a supervisee?
I don't know that I have, like, intentionally.
Yeah.
I can't think of. Okay, when I was pregnant and I was high risk pregnancy with my third kiddo, I wasn't a supervisee yet or a supervisor yet, but I was still getting some supervision. And I was like, very, I mean, you could tell.
Yeah.
Like, hi, here's me, and this is my third kid, and it's high risk, and here's all my anxiety, blah. Like, it was very clear. But I don't know that I've done it intentionally for any other.
Or when it wasn't physically obvious.
Right. But I guess that's true.
I can think of work situations. I can't think of a time where I was a supervisor, and I might have done this, but I can think of work situations where I maybe didn't disclose a health diagnosis or a coworker didn't. I worked at an agency, and it didn't take me much time to look back and realize all of my coworkers and I were dealing with some, like, somatic or like health concerns. We didn't ever talk about it with each other.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just like an unknown.
Yeah. Like, one person, I knew that she was having migraines, and I knew that occasionally she was, like, leaving to go to doctor's appointments, but we didn't ever really openly discuss.
Like, wow, are those migraines stress related, or
I've known you long enough to know that you didn't.
Right.
And now you do.
Right.
And we are not talking about, maybe it's stress related or not, but certainly a migraine would affect your work.
100%.
And we didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
So I think there are a lot of times where people don't talk about what's happening with their health.
Right.
Can you think of specific mental health situations where people definitely talk about their health or their mental health, and they're the provider?
Let me think. I mean, not off the top. Nothing's sticking out.
I think I'm thinking culturally within substance treatment.
Oh, yes,
That's just a given,
right?
Like, that if you have had an issue with substance, or you have had a family history of substance use, it's not taboo to talk about it.
Right, that's true. I used to work in a grief program, and That,
That's a good example.
it's
Yeah.
just people are there for that reason, and all of the
Right.
facilitators talked about their own grief process, and
Uh-huh.
they're, yeah.
Okay, so are there times where you feel like it's the opposite, that you definitely don't? Maybe culturally in a work situation or culturally, like in our culture, the United States, that you wouldn't talk about something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, I think there's plenty of situations where it would be like taboo, or
Uh-huh.
like maybe like people would think it, oh, I'm just making an excuse,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like in America, if someone passes away, we get 3 days of mourning or something like
Yeah.
that. Well, I've seen plenty of situations where people are really struggling well past 3 days,
Yes, yeah.
but they just think, well, I can't
It's
talk
not
about it.
allowed
Right, I'm
now.
not allowed now. I had my time.
I'm thinking like certain health concerns that are more embarrassing
Oh yeah,
you wouldn't
sure.
talk about.
Right.
Like I actually remember I had a client that had Crohn's disease,
Oh yeah.
which dramatically impacted their lives. And I then realized there were a huge number of people in his world that didn't even know
Wow. Yeah.
that I think maybe his direct supervisor knew, and he wasn't in mental health,
Right.
but I can't remember what he did for work. But he had all these coworkers that had no idea.
Right.
And it made me think, how? How
Right.
are you managing
Right.
that people don't know why you're at the doctor all the time,
Right.
or even in sessions, if wasn't feeling well, he would lose the color in his face and start sweating.
Mm. Yeah.
Like,
Like
how
very
are you?
right. Wow.
Or are your coworkers just thinking, what's happening with you?
Right. And they have no,
And they
yeah.
don't know. He had mapped out, he knew where every bathroom was, everywhere he
Hmm.
went.
He
And
probably did it ahead of time to
right, he
know.
would
Right.
know how, the closest bathroom or the best
Hmm.
bathroom or the whatever. But I mean, that was a lot of work for him to
Yeah.
figure out how to manage his life around that and not let people know.
Right. I think that's a great example. And I think especially when it's something that's more embarrassing like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more, we went through a miscarriage and I hadn't even told my office that I was pregnant. And then I had to call and be like, so I have to be on bed rest. And then
They're like,
the sweet receptionist was like, and I was like, no, it
yeah,
was just, and trying to explain like, and I really don't feel like seeing clients, even though like
right.
I'm physically fine probably tomorrow, but like I'm
Yeah.
taking time. But
Yeah.
I think that's like, again, no one talks about that. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm. So the fear related to a mental health diagnosis or a health diagnosis in the workplace is I think maybe the way you think other people might perceive that diagnosis,
right?
or the what maybe I don't know, like the way, not just how it's perceived but how they might react.
Yeah, I think reaction is probably a lot of it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think people get very, like, you don't want to put that on someone else. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah. Okay, so it's complicated. It's
hmm
how we feel, it's how they feel, it's how we think they might
right.
feel.
Layers of fear about
Yeah.
one way or the
Mm-hmm,
other.
mm-hmm. Okay, the next point in the article is that one of the complications or an issue related to mental health diagnoses or health diagnoses in the workplace is myths.
Yeah. I think a lot of people kind of, this is where the fear leads into creating some of those myths.
Hmm.
Well, like um that you can't treat someone because you have depression. So you can't,
Oh,
like this
as
as
the
the
clinician
clinician.
or the
Right.
professional,
Right.
you think that some people might worry that it undermines their ability to do their job.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a
Hmm.
myth that's out there for sure.
Hmm.
What about the idea? I mean, we talked a little bit about substance abuse, which is very true culturally. Like a lot of people that work in substance abuse have that experience. But I think a lot of people will tell you, well, people only hurt broken people are working in mental
Hmm.
health, right? Like
Mm.
there's that like myth of
Yeah.
like, well, you have something must be wrong with you,
Yeah.
right? Like what was wrong with you?
I don't, maybe I've told you about this. I was working at an eating disorder facility and this caught me really off guard. I don't know, remember what I responded with, but I remembered in my head, I thought, did that just happen? I was confused that someone asked me if I had any personal history of an eating disorder, and I don't. And they then acted like I didn't have the experience to be able to provide
Oh,
treatment.
yeah. Like,
And I,
no, well, then you don't
right,
know.
like it was like it was an unusual type of
Hmm.
discrimination or discrimination that I hadn't run into before.
Hmm.
And I just I was speechless. I went
Right.
like, what? Uh, I think that person was just,
Wow. Yeah.
wow. Yeah. Um, so maybe it goes in all different directions, these
Sure.
myths.
I don't know that this is really a myth, but I mean, in counseling, we see families, we see individuals, I see couples, but I had a colleague one time going through a divorce and was like seeing couples and doing marriage
Mm,
therapy. And
yes.
that was I mean, there was conversations about it. Like, one, do you feel okay? Like literally
Right.
checking in with a colleague, are you okay? But
Yeah.
then also, at some point, don't you think your clients may or may not figure out that you got divorced or you're going through a divorce?
Yeah.
And does that
I
make some you can't do marriage therapy anymore?
Yeah, I like that. I mean, you said, I don't know if this like fits. I
Right,
think it completely fits that counselors have life happening
right,
while they're being a counselor.
right.
And yeah, I think that they would maybe
Hmm.
think, maybe this person's going to think I can't be a marriage and family
Oh,
counselor.
I just thought of a story when I didn't have, I mean, my kids are older now, but a long time ago,
Hmm.
I didn't have teenagers. I only had one kiddo and she was still like 4.
Hmm.
And someone was talking to me about their teenager and they were like, oh, you just wait, you don't know. And they did not think that I could see their teenager. Like,
Uh-huh.
literally, you brought your child here to see me. You've read
Yeah,
my
yeah,
bio.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But they were like, oh, well, you've never had a teenager. So,
Right.
like,
So no,
oh,
so
okay.
I mean, the kind of our conversation is that we started out with thinking about mental health diagnosis, but then we added health
Oh,
diagnoses, and
yeah.
then we added like circumstances in life
Right. Just
that,
experience of,
uh-huh.
yeah,
Um, well, I think that definitely leads into the last point of the article that all of these things lead to missed opportunities.
absolutely. I think that if you're fearful about sharing a health diagnosis, even with someone you're close with that you see every day at work, you're not going to go for the promotion. You're not going to,
Oh.
because you're just trying to hang in there. If you can't even,
Oh, you're saying so the impact of of a
sure,
diagnosis would mean that you don't put yourself out there for
possibly.
an
Right.
opportunity. I was thinking that a missed opportunity could be you don't give a counselor a chance because
They don't have your thing. Yeah.
right, or you don't give a counselor a chance because they do have
Hmm.
a diagnosis of fill in the
Right.
blank.
Right. I absolutely agree with that.
Hmm. What about us as the clinicians? Well, you said maybe we don't apply for a job
Right.
because we think, well, they're not going to hire someone with fill in the
Right.
blank.
But I think also missed opportunities could look like even smaller things. It doesn't have to be as big as a job
Hmm.
promotion, but like,
Hmm.
what about you talked about your client that had Crohn's and didn't like tell anybody. Well, missed opportunities to have support, just to
Yes.
like have
Yeah.
like connection.
Yeah.
Like, you never know again until you start talking about that. When we went through the
Yeah.
miscarriage and I had shared, the whole office knew by the time I came back, which was fine. I didn't tell them to keep it private
Hmm.
or anything. But like 3 other people that I worked with came up to me and talked to me about it, and I was like, why are we not like
Yeah.
having these
Yeah.
conversations?
Yeah.
And why was I so fearful to say something?
Right. Yeah. That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
That my work setting where everyone had some health concerns going on. If someone had kind of broken that
Right.
silence and said, this stress is really causing me
Hmm.
serious headaches, that maybe other people would have said, my
Right.
something
Right.
is happening because I've been so stressed that we could have been supportive. We might have been able to speak up better for
Right.
ourselves in those
Right.
situations. Mhm.
Just the collective thought versus your
Yeah.
isolated.
What about specifically in supervision? Do you think there are missed opportunities when we don't talk about things like this?
100%. Because if
Hmm.
I don't know, say I don't know that my supervisee is dealing, we don't even have to give it a diagnosis. We could just say a problem in life, right? If I
Hmm.
don't know what's going on with them and I'm assessing, like, why can't they just make this phone call I need them to make? Like,
Yeah.
what's so
Yeah.
scary about calling this mad dad? I talk to mad people all day.
Right.
And then
Right.
I'm like, oh,
Or
you
even
know,
that they talk to, like,
right,
I know you've talked to
right.
parents before.
Why can't
Why?
you do this one thing?
Yeah.
Because if I don't know, then I can't
Hmm.
be supportive
Uh-huh.
and I'm just going to think something else is going on that's
Yeah.
not.
Recently, I had a supervisee that I thought what we were avoiding a topic and I kept trying
Mm-hmm.
and they kept
Skirting.
right getting around it or like talking about it a little bit, but in a kind of surface level kind of way. Um, and I couldn't figure it out. I went back to them and asked, "Are we I mean, am I
Right.
missing it or is there something to talk about and we've kind of been avoiding it?" And the supervisee went, "Yes, I've kind of been avoiding it."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Why?" And I specifically asked, "Are you avoiding it because it's uncomfortable to talk about with me?"
Right. Like
That
specifically
right.
in supervision with me.
Right. Am
Right.
I doing something or saying something that is putting up a barrier between you and you being able to talk about something that
Right.
would help you in counseling or in your job?
Mm-hmm.
Um, she said no. I'm going to keep thinking about it though,
Okay.
because I wonder, and maybe I wasn't doing something that stopped them from talking about it, but maybe I could have done something to make it a more welcoming environment
Right.
so that
More
they
open.
could
Sure.
talk about it.
Sure.
Um, and so maybe that's what we take away from this is that certainly there are fears
Mm-hmm.
and certainly there are myths related to a diagnosis or a life event happening. But what missed opportunities might happen as a result? And what could we do not just to not create an obstacle, but actually create an opportunity
Right. Right.
for someone to talk about
Mm-hmm.
this, to get support
Right.
for. Mhm. Um, yeah, I think I maybe too. I'm gonna not just how I could support my supervisees, but also be thinking, like we've kind of talked about, in what ways have we missed some opportunities in talking about what's going on with us, and how might we get
Right. How would we
support
get that
or.
support or
Mhm.
just some extra like it can literally just be extra help for someone to just give you time and space to
Mm-hmm.
do something.
And we didn't really touch on this, but it's an extension of what we're talking about. How might our own counseling be improved
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great point.
by
Mm-hmm.
saying these things?
Definitely.
Okay. Well, some things to think
Yeah.
about. Heather and I always want to hear about what you think would make for a great new episode, as well as this week, we'd love to hear about ways that you have noticed stigma affecting your own mental health neighborhood. Thanks for listening to Supervision with a Vision.